Hello everyone, today I'm going to be explaining about fossil record. Fossil records are the remains or traces of organisms from earlier periods which were preserved in sedimentary rocks. These types of records include many imprints such as organisms, DNA, excrements, bones, exoskeletons, shells, stone, oil, coal, etc. These records are used to find out where the species were from and what period they were from. Fossil record is also used as proof for evolution. It shows how different life was on Earth in earlier periods. We can see these changes through time by observing these fossil records. In this diagram, we can see there are 5 layers of rock. The layer at the bottom is the oldest, and the layer on top is the youngest. This gives us a basic idea of how old fossils are in each layer. We can use this diagram to see the progression of the organism's adaptation to its environment during its era. 3. Factors that affect fossil record. In order for the fossilization process to complete, it is required to be undisturbed for long periods of time under sediments. The environment where the fossilization process takes place is also a major factor. For example, like hot and humid temperatures can help create can help creatures decay faster, but rocky mountain tops have no sediments for the fossilization process to take place. Therefore, fossilization is more common in places like deserts, coastals, lagoons, and stagnant lakes than in other areas, because these areas contain a lot of sediments which are needed in fossilization process, and it also the corpse take longer to decay. The shifting of tectonic plates is also a great factor that can affect the fossil record. It is able to obscure or even destroy these fossils. The organism's size is also a great factor that could affect these fossil record. Larger animals have a higher chance of doing so because there are more pieces to go around. On the other hand, small organisms have a smaller chance of getting its own fossil record. And lastly, the organism must not be decayed for the fossilization process to work. 4. Describe what problem or issue is resolved using fossil record. Fossil record shows us the relation between the past and present organisms and environments. There is a type of fossil called permineralization. This type of fossil happens when minerals from the ground, lakes, or ocean impregnate the pore of a plant material, bones, and shells. Since pores of the organic tissues are now filled with minerals, therefore the fossils are formed in the original shape of the tissue or organism, but it will be heavier. Scientists can use these fossils to compare with present-day organisms and environments to see the differences and the relations between the two. It also can be used as a major piece of evidence of evolution. Fossil record has provided a lot of evidence and data demonstrating the differences between animals from the past and organisms present today. Analyzing indications of evolution usually revolves around examining fossilized hard bodies such as bones, teeth, and shells from an organism's ancestor to its current state to show the effects of its evolution. According to Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, natural selection is how evolution occurs. Fossil records support Darwin's theory because they reveal that the simplest animals may be found in the oldest fossils, but that more complex species can be found in newer fossils, proving that organisms have evolved and developed in time. 5. We discuss about the strengths and weaknesses of fossil records. The strengths of fossil records include: it helps us understand how life was in the past, gives scientists a good idea when different events in the past happens. It like tells them the era where these events happen. By looking at the fossil records, you can discover species of organisms that extinct a long time ago. You can find their imprints on these fossil records, and you also it is also a great evidence to prove evolution, allowing the scientists to compare living organisms from the past to the present. Weaknesses of fossil records include it is known to be incomplete and is biased in favor of animals with hard body parts, such as skeletons and shells. Soft-bodied organisms and soft body parts are not likely to be preserved. DNA is virtually unobtainable from fossils. There, it is nearly impossible to compare DNA from most fossils with the living organisms today. 6. Evaluate how effectively this method increases our understanding of history of life on Earth. So, individual animal species appear in only a few layers of fossil records, then they disappear. Therefore, there are many species in the world that we haven't discovered that extinct millions or a long time ago uh, because it did not appear in the fossil record layers today. Therefore, the species we discover in the fossil record layers today are only a small fraction or part of the species that existed since the beginning of the Earth. 7. Explain how explain how a fossil record is connected to economy and environment. Uh, in economy, in economics, studies shows that wealthy countries such as the United States, Germany, and China provide up to 97% of paleontological data. Therefore, our understanding of history of life on Earth is kind of biased towards these wealthy countries. For environmental connection between the evolution between fossil record is that there have been 5 mass extinctions that happened in our Earth's history. Therefore, there might be a possibility of a 6th mass extinction according to uh, studies and scientists. But luckily, our humankind was able to get information from fossil records to prepare or avoid the next mass extinction. For example, climate change. We know that it might lead to mass extinction, but we are trying to stop it or avoid it or prepare for it by finding solutions to cut down our carbon footprint. Thank you for listening to this presentation.